In enterprise, this doesn't happen. If I want to use a tool, I have to report to my manager and report to my manager's manager, and then someone going to approve the budget, and then finance have to approve it, and legal have to approve it, and tech have to approve it. And then when I use it, it's already a month later. So I think for solopreneurs, let's think about what disadvantage do I have compared to those large enterprise with huge budget. Yes, they have huge budget, but they also have huge obstacles. So we'd love to encourage solopreneurs to adopt a really positive mindset. Like, what do I have? What agility do I have? What sharpness niche I have that other people don't have?
Mike's got the hat, the AI kind. Unlocking power in business you'll find. Cut through the hype, explore the tech. Every week, new ideas to check. All 10 leads us on a digital quest. AI secrets he'll always invest. Tune in tight, don't miss a beat. Knowledge groove, keep you on your feet. Listen up to the AI flow. Business growth, here we go. Cutting edge insights, that's the plan. With the AI hat, you'll understand.
Welcome to a very special episode of the AI Hat Podcast, recorded live at MAICON 2025 in Cleveland, the Marketing AI Institute's 6th annual conference, where 1,500 AI leaders from almost every state and dozens of countries, they gathered to explore how AI is transforming business. Now, are you throwing money at AI subscriptions, hoping something will stick? If you are, you're not alone. Right now, thousands of solopreneurs are paying for multiple AI tools, yet still drowning in the same administrative quicksand that's been suffocating their growth. The problem isn't that AI doesn't work. It's that most solo business owners are treating AI like a fancy calculator instead of what it really is, the most powerful revenue multiplication system ever created for small businesses. Today, I'm joined by Eva Dong, a terrific friend. She's been on the podcast a couple of times already, and she's lead of AI value realization at Google Cloud, who just wrapped up her enterprise focus session yesterday here at MAICON. Eva spent her career helping Fortune 500 companies unlock millions in AI value, but as a former entrepreneur herself, she knows exactly what it takes to make AI profitable at any scale. She's here to share the same enterprise-grade framework that's generating massive ROI for corporations and show you how to adapt it for your solo business starting today. Eva, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me, and it's so great to meet you in person.
Right? It's fantastic. And before we really get into the interview, tell me about where we're at. How are you enjoying the event?
Yeah, so we're at Cleveland at the MAICON conference. Today's day 2, early morning. We finished a fantastic day yesterday. I spoke yesterday on one of the sessions, so it's great.
Yes, it is early. Thank you for being here early with me.
No problem.
This is great. But let's talk about it, your session, because you wrapped it up yesterday afternoon. It was focused on marketing teams and enterprise AI adoption. I'm wondering, what was the biggest aha moment that you thought the audience was taking away from that, and how do you think that translates to solopreneurs?
I think probably my very first question to the audience, so I was asking them, what do you think is the number one criteria when enterprise leaders are picking a new AI use case? And then show them a little bit histogram. So 30% of leaders think this, 20% of leaders think that. And the answer is easily quantifiable ROI is the answer. So that is very top of mind for many, many enterprise leaders. And I think that was a big moment for the audience to realize, oh, this is why we're talking about ROI today. This is what people are thinking and what everybody should pay attention to it. And as for solopreneurs, I think this is actually an easier question. I feel like for the industry, the release of ChatGPT in 2022 to everybody is doing some kind of proof of concept in 2023. In 2024, everybody in this scaling implementation phase. I think for the industry, it takes them 1 to 2 years to realize, oh, I need to cut through the hype and just go to the value of AI, which is actually the purpose of why we do everything at the enterprise. But for solopreneurs, you don't have that, 5-year science project ever for you. So for them, value is like day one. Either you have value or you have to go away. Like you pay rent. You gotta pay rent for your shop. You gotta pay rent for yourself. So I call this like rent money mindset, right? So value is more like day one. So I think it's more natural for solopreneur to think about, okay, why do I use this? What kind of value it is?
Yeah, and I thought it was also interesting that out of all those enterprise level executives that were interviewed, what was it, only 1% were concerned about the actual initial cost. And obviously a greater percentage, I think, of solopreneurs might be concerned about that. But really with AI, with solopreneurs, the investment is $20 a month, typically, right? That shouldn't be a concern, I don't think, right?
$20 per month shouldn't be a concern. Yeah. I know all of the ChatGPT and OpenAI have all higher subscription models, but I would say start with the $20. I personally have some $20 prescriptions myself with all the different platforms, and they work fantastically. Yeah. And then I think there's a difference whether you're like a technical founder or a non-technical founder. For non-technical founder, I think the cost even could be lower. Like vibe coding is like so cheap. But if you're a technical founder, I guess you have like premium subscription with Cursor. It's a little bit more expensive, but still the cost is quite minimum compared to what you get out of it.
Right. So let's drill down a little bit, because I know you've helped so many enterprises generate, frankly, millions of dollars from AI. A lot of solopreneurs, though, still feel, I think, that AI is just another expense. What do you think the fundamental difference is then between successful businesses who are approaching AI versus those who just maybe see it as another monthly subscription?
Very good question, first of all. I think there's a huge difference between having a tool versus taking good advantage of the tool. So it's like a gym membership, right? So you can have a really cheap gym membership, but it's very different than having a solid, practical, personalized training plan. There's like, let's say you buy a gym membership, $100 per month. There could be someone going every single day, toning their body to the limit, and there could be someone stopping by, like twice per month and do some casual treadmills. So I think that's the difference. Like, I think for solopreneurs, they just have to remember like speed really matters. ROI really matters, and how do I combine both of them? I think they naturally have lots of advantages, such as like they don't have to go to the bureaucracy, like, oh, should I use this Gemini tool? Should I use Gemini Code Assist? Oh, you don't have to think about it. You think about it this morning, like maybe this morning you listen to a podcast, like Mike's podcast, like, oh, Gemini Code Assist, let me try that. And this afternoon you can use it, and maybe by the end of the evening you're like in love with it, and then you purchase a full-on subscription, you run with it. And in enterprise, this doesn't happen. If I want to use a tool, I have to report to my manager and report to my manager's manager, and then someone going to approve the budget, and then finance have to approve it, and legal have to approve it, and tech have to approve it. And then when I use this, it's already a month later. So I think for solopreneurs, let's think about what disadvantage do I have compared to those large enterprise with huge budget. Yes, they have huge budget, but they also have huge obstacles. So would love to encourage solopreneurs to adopt a really positive mindset, like what do I have, what agility do I have, what like sharpness niche I have that other people don't have.
Yeah, solopreneurs, your agility is your superpower for sure. Now, when we're talking about solopreneurs, during your talk, I'll put it this way, you specifically called out how enterprise need to have a specific use case in mind before they even begin any of this. How do you think solopreneurs should go about identifying maybe or thinking about a use case that's still going to fit into their time and their budget?
Yeah, I think if I put it into two buckets, I also mentioned this as part of my talk. You put it in efficiency bucket and innovation bucket. And my recommendations is like go with both. So you think about like what kind of things can I give it to AI that will increase my efficiency? So maybe that's like recording a meeting with your customer, summarize the meeting, organize your calendar, like booking you some meetings with some vendors. And there's the innovation bucket, which is actually the thing that actually differentiate yourself from the other enterprise and from the other startup. So you think about like, how do I use AI to do research for me so I can come with better strategy, more with data-driven strategy? Like how do I use AI to help me brainstorm new ideas that I have never thought about? So those are the innovation bucket, and I think those that actually matters. Efficiency, you gotta go with it. Everybody is using it, don't miss out. Innovation, don't forget it. Do I use it use it as your assistant. Don't use it to replace you, right? Like don't just ask Gemini, okay, what is my 5-year strategy for my startup? Please don't do that, because everybody is doing that and Gemini might then give them the same answer. So really use Gemini or whatever AI assistant you have to be your assistant, to be your brainstorm partner, to be your problem solve partner, but you should be the decision holder and giving it all your thought to make it your startup.
Love that. The second keynote yesterday morning was Jeff Woods, the author of the AI-driven leader. And he was making this exact point, and he was talking to us about how to use AI as a thought partner and not just an assistant, right? And he specifically called out one of my favorite tricks with AI is to give it permission to ask you questions. Because so often people are used to using Gemini or ChatGPT. They ask it for something, and it just vomits back the answer.
Yeah.
It's not a great answer. It's a mediocre answer, as you basically said, right? Because they didn't tell it that you can ask questions of me for more context. And Jeff drilled down to that even further. He's like, you need to specifically tell it to ask you 3 questions or 5 questions or whatever, right? Interview me so that you can get even more context. And the other thing I always love to tell people is tell AI to challenge your assumptions. Right? That's like built into my instructions for my AI chief of staff. I use Gemini. I've got a gem set up with that. And it always challenges my assumptions. And sometimes I have bad ideas. And it'll tell me that. Unlike most AI, right? Most AI, you put something in there, you has an idea, and it'll be like, oh, Eva, that's gold. That's the best idea ever. Whether it is or not, right? So you put those 2 things in, and you'll get great output. And I also love what you're talking about for solopreneurs in particular, to think through how they're spending their day, how they're spending their time, where they can potentially find efficiencies and productivity. I've got a audit worksheet I'll drop in the show notes called a scalability audit, where you could just take 3 days, a few minutes a day, and write down where you're spending your time every day. Start to kind of identify the things that you could actually start to automate and improve.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, because you've worked with incredible clients, with Google, and before that with McKinsey, you're seeing lots of mistakes that businesses are making, right, when they're trying to implement AI. And I'm wondering how solopreneurs maybe can avoid some of the mistakes that you've seen these other businesses make.
Yeah. Another good question. I feel like what you just mentioned was spot on. So AI is kind of lazy. I mean, I wouldn't call it lazy. I think the reward system is very different, right? Because as a human, let's say you're an employee in the corporate, you want to do really well, you want to impress your boss. So you have to think really hard, how do I stand out? How do I go above and beyond? And that takes a lot of cognitive energy. But for AI, they are rewarded by this reward system, this reinforcement system. That you ask a question, they answered it. Okay, they get the reward. Done. They are not rewarded to challenge you if you didn't ask it. So let's push this lazy AI. So once it says whatever, just criticize it and push it, challenge it, and then at the same time challenge yourself, challenge your own work. I think that's one of the very good advice. And speaking of other mistake I have seen for enterprise, I think sometimes those people go too exact stream of the barometer. On one side, there's people who focus a little bit too much on technology and don't measure the impact. And on the other side, I think people are too laser focused on the impact and forget about the process. So for the first bucket, so I have seen for AI specifically, the customers might really want to say, what is the model accuracy rate? Can I get the accuracy rate higher and higher? 92%, not good enough. Let's go for 95. 95, not good enough. Let's go for 98. But if you have, let's say, 1,000 employee enterprise, the model accuracy is 99.99%. 2 out of the 1,000 employees are using it. It doesn't mean anything. So I would rather have a tool that is 80% ready, but I have 50% of the employees using it. It's a bigger impact. On the other hand, people will say, okay, AI impact let's get it, right? Okay, so today I roll out this tool, tomorrow it's like, where's my $2 million? So I think then that's another mistake, right? So once you have the tool, you got to roll out adoption first. Second of all, you got to talk about trust of the tool. Just because people are using the tool doesn't mean people trust the tool. If people don't trust the tool, they're not going to use the tool and implement it in their real production environment and into like things that really matters. And after they trust it, how do they accelerate and excel it, right? So let's say maybe you have 20% of the pilot employees using this tool, trusting this tool. How do you scale to a 100% workforce? And trust me, there's always a tail of employees who's a little bit reluctant on that. How do you motivate them? How do you reward them? And eventually, how do you scale it out to your entire enterprise? So we're talking not just individual efficiency, not just team efficiency, but organization, cross-department efficiency. And at that time, yes, you will see impact for sure. So this is one thing I talk about during my talk too.
Yeah.
So that's for enterprise, what I see, two extreme end of mistakes. And for solopreneurs, I think naturally you don't have the adoption. Yeah, you use it. Wow, yeah, 100% adopted. So let's talk about the other end, right?
Yeah.
So how do you put yourself into this 4-step process? Adoption, you get it. Do you trust it? So that's a question to you, because for solopreneurs, you have agility and flexibility to choose so many different assets, so many different tools. You're not going to use all of it.
Yeah.
You're not all, like Gemini is updating its model like every 10 days, whatever. Okay, it doesn't mean you have to update your model every 10 days. So choose whatever that works best for you for now, at least. Trust it. Do you trust it? Do you select it? And then eventually, do you scale it? Scale it within yourself, right? So maybe you start using it for your efficiency bucket, okay, helping you with some like, time-consuming tasks day to day. And then maybe naturally you grow it, okay, let me help you with the innovation task. How do you scale it? How do you make it truly your assistant, but still bringing on your strategy, your thinking, your work with the tool? And eventually, how do you measure the impact? So go through this process. It's not going to be one day. It's not like today you adopt it, tomorrow impact. But speed does matter for solopreneurs. There's no time to waste. So you should expect much, much faster timeline than the enterprise. But still, you got to go through this process. Maybe it's days, maybe it's weeks. But think about adoption, trust, acceleration, and eventually impact.
Love that. I want to go back to the adoption because you said, yeah, it's solopreneurs. You get 100% adoption, right? But I'll actually harken back to the gym analogy that you did, because a lot of solopreneurs, they might be paying for that subscription, but not using it every single day, which they should. That's how they're going to ramp up their own usage, to your earlier point. So think about it like your gym membership, but use it more than your gym membership, I think.
What do you see in your target audience? Like, do you see them very active and taking full advantage of their $20 per month membership, or are they still a little bit lost in that membership?
The way I'd put it is the solopreneurs and creators who are succeeding are the ones who are using AI at least once a day, if not more. Yeah, if they're jumping into it maybe once or twice a week, they're not going to get the ROI out of it. They're not going to get that 10x impact, I think, for their business.
Yeah, maybe that's a good threshold. Do you use it every day?
Yeah. Yeah, start every day. For me, it's probably every hour. I'm in there because I've got custom GPTs or gems for specific tasks and processes, and then I've got my AI chief of staff that I'm leaning on every single day. And by the way, one of my favorite features of any AI is the deep research. And I love that with my paid Gemini account, I can do as much deep research as I want. So anytime that there's something in my business that either A, I've never done it before, or B, maybe it's something I've been doing for a long time, and it occurs to me, I may not know today's best practices. I've been doing email marketing for 20 years. I don't know if I'm still doing it the way I should be doing it. Things change and evolve. So you can run a deep research and get all kinds of insights that you can then feed into your AI work buddy, your AI chief of staff, and get that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I love that point. AI shouldn't be just fixing your broken process. Yeah. You could rethink a new process with AI.
Yeah. But I know one other concern that a lot of solopreneurs have is that the first time they use AI, or even the first 10 times they use AI, if they're asking for any kind of output that's to be used in marketing copy or something like that, it's not going to sound like them. It's going to sound like the average robotic answer, right? It's not going to have their voice. How do you speak to someone, or what do you say to someone who's like, I can't use AI, it doesn't sound like
Very good point. I think there's a lot of like marketers starts paying attention to it or
Yeah.
have been paying attention to it. There's easy ways and there's like long ways. I think the easy way is usually those tools already give you a function for personal context. So if you use Gemini, for example, in your settings, there's a button called personal context, and there you can put whatever you want. So for example, I'll say, I lead AI value at Google Cloud Consulting. This is my job. This is the type of clients I serve, and I usually put my writing style into it. This is very helpful for me too. So I'm Chinese. English is not my first language. I wouldn't say I'm really good at English writing specifically, but I will know what kind of writing I want to have for myself. So I'll usually find those writers online, and there's like 1 or 2 people I follow, and then I will see how they write their blog or articles, and I'll ask AI to analyze their writing style, and then I'll say, okay, exactly, right? I want to write exactly similar style. So I give, and I put it in the personal context. So going forward, when Gemini writing things for me, I will know, okay, Eva really like a fact-based, actual, concise way of writing. It might have like lots of facts, but it shouldn't have overwhelming of facts, but still deliver the message very crisp and very sharp. So that become like a very easy way. So I don't know, for the solopreneurs, if you really nail at English writing or whatever language writing, use your own articles or use your own data to train the model. If you are not good at it, like me, on writing, you can use other people's example and train it, your Gemini, with a tone that's similar to them.
So let's dig into this a little bit more, because I know a lot of the clients that you're working with, they have like entire teams who can train their AI systems and adopt that, across the entire organization. I mentioned I've got an AI chief of staff, which lives inside of a gem. That's just the way that I've approached using Gemini and training it on my business and voice. How do you think solopreneurs should be approaching that? Maybe not just voice, but just how do they train the AI about their entire business model? How do they let the AI know? How do they let Gemini know, I'm a solopreneur doing this, that, and the next thing?
Yep. Good question. I think some solopreneurs have that problem, some maybe don't, because data is precious and not everybody have data. So Mike knows this. I used to be a data scientist before I come into Google, and there was once upon in my life, I really want to work for a startup. So there was a period of time I interviewed with so many Series A and Series B startups, I even seed startup, and the common answer I get at that time is like, we don't need a data scientist because we don't even have data. And these are one step forward in the solopreneurs. So there's like Series A, Series B startups who already have funding. And they're like, oh, we don't have data. We don't need a data scientist. So I feel like data management, data platform is like one of the last things entrepreneurs think about right now, because in the beginning, they just don't have it. And obviously, but data is precious. And for those who are very lucky enough to have been accumulating data, obviously treasure it. And let's talk about your question. I think, one, if you don't have a ton of data, right? So let's say you have some like meeting scripts, meeting minutes with your customers. Let's say you have some articles and documents, you have some procedures, maybe you have a pattern, or you have some some code. That's enough. That's like, I guess, small enough to just put it into something like Gemini. More, if you have a little bit more, use like Google AI Studio. So that'll be one step forward. So Google AI Studio, I think there's a free version. There's also a paid version. That's one step more technical than Gemini. It's still a chatbot interface, but there's a lot of things you can tune, such as temperature. Also, temperature is a really useful thing. So temperature means how creative or how factual based you want it to be. So it is a parameter of 0 to 1. So you can put it on the far end to make it really creative. Let's say if you're doing some brainstorming, or maybe you're doing like an image generation. So Nano Banana is like one of the ideas. Nano Banana is one of like the crazy thing that went viral that Google made to make your image. So that you want to go creative. Or you want to do really factual based. Like I'm asking a really scientific question, and you just want a really scientific answer. There's a right and wrong. and that's it. There's nothing in between. So things like that, you can do it in Google AI Studio, but not Gemini. And I'm sure other vendors has other tools with it. So you can upload all your data, package them together, upload to them, and have them synthesize it, have them train your model, train your chief of staff, similar to what Mike did. So that when you don't have a ton of data. But if you're really lucky enough to have a ton of data, you have to adopt something that's like true data platform. So things like BigQuery, if you're using the Google Cloud system, and like every cloud system has a very similar things. Oh yeah, I guess the key is like you probably have to use some kind of cloud provider instead of just your laptop hard drive. Use some kind of cloud providers. Use the pay-as-you-go function. Like don't commit any big storage container or anything like that. Use the pay as you go, and then this very good model, like if you use a lot in November, they charge you a lot. You don't use anything in December, they don't charge you. Remember to remove your old data so it saves you some money. So I guess when you don't have a lot of data, use Gemini or like AI Studio, for example, to manage it. When you have proper, legit, tons of data, use a proper data platform.
Love that advice. And I think if you're listening to this and you're not sure what information to even put to help train the AI, I'll link to my AI Work Buddy instructions in the show notes. You can download it for free. It's a PDF that you'll upload to whatever AI you want. It could be Gemini or ChatGPT. And it will tell the AI to start asking you questions about yourself, your business, your goals, your challenges, everything. And then when it's done of this questionnaire, it'll output for you the entire text that you can copy and paste into whatever, LLM, Gem, Custom GPT project if you're using Claude. And now you've got a total custom assistant that knows everything about your business, and then you can start working with some of the data that way. So let's assume for the moment, I'm a solopreneur, we've done all these things. I've set up, I've trained my AI, I've identified the use cases that I want to succeed with. How do we know what's working? How do we start to measure ROI? Are there specific metrics that we should be looking at? And how do you think a solopreneur maybe needs to think a little bit differently about ROI from AI?
Good question. Big question though.
Big question.
Lots of my customers ask me this questions like, okay, so what metrics? What do I do? Okay, if it's that simple, like I wouldn't be there for 6 months, right? So I think for every business it's a little bit different, but dial back to the framework I was talking about. Still, even though it's different for every business, I think, and maybe different for every department, for every tool, for every industry, I think the framework stay the same, right? So think about first adoption. So adoption is measured by like how often do people use it? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Like what kind of hypothesis did you invalidate or validate with it? So same for solopreneurs. And second step will be trust. So the metrics you can look at is like how often, like when you use it every day, how much are you using it? So let's say you're a software engineer and you're using a coding assistant. There's one thing to use it once per day. It's another thing to use, I generated 900 lines of code and I accept a majority of them. I use it to detect 3 bugs and it helped me fix 3 bugs. Those are trust measurement, right? Doesn't mean using it is one thing, trusting it and finding it actually useful is another thing. So that's the trust. And then when you go on to accelerate, you got it really serious. That we're talking about time saved. We're talking about cost saving. That's talking about like your CSAT if you're using it for a customer-facing purpose. So maybe, for example, for solopreneurs, it is like you have to measure how many hours do I save per day on it. Maybe let's say, for example, you take manual notes when you have a meeting with your customers, and then after that you look at your notes. You spend 30 minutes writing this like really nice meeting minutes, writing a follow-up email to your customers, and then you spend another 30 minutes really thinking about, okay, what can I do for this customer that's differentiate myself? So that's 1 hour. But today with AI, you can have AI listening to the conversation and take perfect notes. As soon as you're finished the meeting, you have like a perfect meeting note, and you spend 1 minute, ask Gemini to generate you a follow-up item and a follow-up email to a customer. Then you have 59 minutes to yourself to really think about what are you going to do for your customer. So this is accelerate, right? So this is putting your thoughts, your energy into the thing that really matters. You used to only have 30 minutes for this. Now you have 59 minutes for this. So think about like how it's going to make you better. So AI shouldn't replace your thought. AI only should make your personal taste, personal thinking actually more prominent, more standout. So think about how you're going to leverage that 59 minutes. And eventually, in impact, I think revenue increase is universal metrics for every single person. Same for solopreneurs, but maybe a little bit deeper than that. You can think about like how fast do I have a first draft to my product? How fast do I have it end to end from a draft to I launch this thing for my customer? And then what is the customer reaction? How quickly can I iterate on it? Let's say you have a V1 of your products, you launch it to 3 pilot customers, mixed feedback. How quickly can you take that feedback and improve to a second version, and then measure the revenue of that second version, that incremental impact of that second version?
Love that. And I love that example, just that little one about taking meeting notes. Right. I love with Gemini, I'm using Google Meet. I can have it automatically send that transcript and that summary to the guest, whether it's just a partnership call or a client meeting. And then I also use Notion and pull the transcript in Notion. So I've got that permanent record of the entire conversation, which I could use to then turn into a custom proposal and so on. And AI is going to be so much better at me at picking out specific tiny little things that the client or the prospect might have said in that call that I'm thinking about other things and I didn't pick up. Love that example. And I think already in this conversation, we've said several ways that solopreneurs actually have an advantage, I think, over enterprise. I'd love if you could just break it out, reiterate if you need to. How does the solopreneur get ahead faster than a corporation at using AI and actually improving their business?
Yep. So maybe several things. The first thing is your advantage is speed.
Yep.
When you are a smaller team, you just have agility, you make decisions faster, you try things faster, you fail faster, and you learn faster. So speed is your advantage. Use that. Don't be lazy. Push yourself. Just because enterprise takes 6 months to do that, it probably means 6 hours for you.
Yeah.
So push yourself. Think about how can I run as fast as possible. You can fail fast too, which is failure is such a good asset, right? If you learn something, you try something, you failed it, that's great asset. Don't be afraid to try and fail and learn. And 2, we kind of talk about you should have. This is not like pushing speed, but speed to impact should be also faster to you. Let's say you have an idea of a product, you draft it today, and then you start crafting it, and then you start launching it to your customer, you receive customer feedback. In enterprise, this could be mean years.
You're right.
Because product development is one thing. Getting approval and getting all the legal, marketing, your HR, your finance, all aligned on this product take a lot of communication costs. But when you're just a small enterprise or even just solopreneurs, you just, okay, I approve it because I did it myself, right? I totally approve it. So thinking about how can you push time to market faster? And then once it's on market, how do you push it for iteration faster? So it's a different type of speed. And then second, I think lastly, again on that speed note, we're just on this speed note. How do you see impact faster? I think again for enterprise, let's say today you have a product, you launch it to your customers, and then what we calculate a lot in marketing is you run A/B testing, then you calculate this statistic significance. I have to reach 5 million impressions in order to call it statistic significance. We talk about this all the time, right? But for solopreneurs, sometimes you don't care, right? I have 3 customers, they give me 3 feedbacks. 2 is good, 1 is bad. Okay, now you don't care. You don't care that statistic significance. I'm gonna reiterate on that bad review and feedback and then make it better. So things are just much easier. But obviously there's an advantage, there's disadvantage for solopreneurs too. It's one, you don't have a lot of budget. So yes, you can try maybe $20 subscriptions, maybe 5 of them, but you can try 10 of them. $500 seems like a lot. So you have to think about what kind of free resources you can use. And I have to recommend my friend Mike here. He has a lot of free free things and paid things together. They're not crazy expensive. So follow his community. I know he has a paid membership too. So if you're interested, so like think about what kind of like free and minimum paid resources you can grab and mistakes you can learn from others, such as listening to this podcast. And the second thing, maybe after budget, maybe let's think about like how you can stand out, because a lot of times enterprises stand out by legacy. It's like, oh, I work for who and who company, we have a new product. Everybody's like, ooh, I have used that before. I heard of that brand before. Let me give it a try. I think for solopreneurs, your disadvantage will be maybe your brand awareness is low. Not many people know you. Not many people know your brand. How do you craft that first meeting? How do you craft that first message to be really attractive so people are addicted to you and want to listen to a little bit more, want to try your product a little bit more? And all of that can be helped by AI. Remember that temperature thing I did? So if you tune the temperature, make it really creative, you can let it go crazy. Think about 10,000 things that you never thought about.
Love that advice. That's terrific. I always love talking to you because you're deep into this space. I know you're working obviously with a lot of enterprise level folks, but obviously you work with Google. Where do you see AI going in the next 6 to 12 months from a solopreneur's perspective? How do you think it's going to impact or change their lives?
Yeah. I feel like you asked me this question in our last podcast, probably 6 months ago. I think at that time my answer was personal contacts. Okay. So that was just the beginning of like everybody started doing pulling all the vendors. Okay, you can connect your Amazon account to this. You can connect your Etsy account, and then shop for you. Understand your shopping behavior. Understand what you like, what you dislike. Book hotel airplane ticket for you. At that time, it's personal contacts. But now my answer has changed, right? So answer always change every 6 months. I think right now, I think maybe let me put it into 2 layers, right? I think my message will be, I think what is on the horizon is less human touch, more agentic. So we always talk about this phrase called human in the loop, but I would like to rephrase it as human on the loop. So you're just supervising and they're overarching, observing and monitoring instead of in the loop like that, doing hands on the keyboard. So I think that's the trend. And there's 2 type of opinions on the industry. One I agree, one I disagree. The one that's go really extreme is I believe there will be at least 10 unicorn startups with just one AI agent, no humans, or maybe just one human. I don't really agree with that. Maybe you can have your first maybe $1,000 achieved by an AI agent. I don't think you can achieve the first $1 billion just by one human and one AI agent. I think the world is way more complex than that. But what I do agree with is the other side. You can have less and less human integration and human implementation and more agentic, more autonomy. So for example, let's say you used to have a startup. So let's say you have 10 employees and you have one AI helping the 10 employees. But maybe in the future you have one solopreneurs, but 10 different AI agents. Maybe you have an AI agent manager who's your proxy. Maybe when you go to Bahamas and lay on the beach, it will make all the decisions for you. And then you have 9 AI specialists. One in marketing, one in sales, one in operation, one in logistics, and one just criticize everybody else. The annoying agent. So that might be the future. Less and less human in the loop, but more and more scale. But obviously, I don't believe one human with 10 agents can be scaled to $10 million. Again, to my first point, I think you can get your first $1,000, you can get your first $10,000. But if you want to build a unicorn, $1 billion, believe you need human expertise to keep pushing on that agent.
Love that. That's exactly what my research, my conversations, research I've seen have suggested. Most solopreneurs, we're making $50,000 a year. We want to be at $250 a year. How do we get there? Digital teammates, which is AI agents. Thank you. This has been such a great interview. I appreciate you coming down with me at MAICON and having this conversation. I know folks' minds are buzzing right now and they've got tons of questions. Where should they go to reach out to you?
Yeah, of course. I'm very active on LinkedIn. You can search my name, Eva Dong, or it's like Eva Dong 1010 on LinkedIn. I have a newsletter. I need to push a little bit harder on my newsletter too. Free resource. Again, let's focus on the free resource. I would love to provide more free resource for the community. And I'm also on X or Twitter. Also like Eva Dong 1010 is my handle. And then I try to launch my YouTube. Not great on that yet. I think I'm also Eva Dong 1010. No, actually, I'm Eva Dong 10. Okay, I'm obsessed with this 10 number. Oh, actually, fun fact, Mike's daughter and me have the same birthday, and
Yep,
it's 1010.
1010, that's right.
So that's our lucky number here. Yeah, hit me up on LinkedIn. I would love to connect, and communicate, and exchange ideas with the community. And then really happy to see Mike today in person. It's like we're like pen pals. We're like internet friends, but it just bring another layer to be with him in person here and communicating with all of you.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, that's all the time we've got for today, friends. Thanks so much for listening. I'll have all the links, as always, in the show notes below. Definitely pay attention to that AI Work Buddy. I think it's going to help you out. Till next time, welcome to the grid.
That's a wrap on another episode of the AI Hat Podcast. I hope you gained some valuable insights and actionable strategies to boost your business with AI. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your network. And don't forget to visit theaihat.com for more resources and to connect with me. Until next time, keep innovating, and remember, the future of business is human and it's powered by AI.